Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining me in my kitchen again. Today I'm going to show you how to dehydrate frozen vegetables. It's very easy if you have a dehydrator. If you don't have a garden, if you don't have a pressure canner, this is perfect for you. My local grocery store had the Pick Sweet 1 pound 8 ounce bags of frozen vegetables on sale, 2 for $5. So I thought this would be a good time to pull out the dehydrator and dehydrate some of these vegetables to use in my pantry. So this is my 9-tray Excalibur food dehydrator. I'm going to set it at 125 for 12 hours. So I set this up in my kitchen, and I've got some baby lima beans, some cut corn, crowder peas, mixed vegetables, peas and carrots. And the peas and carrots and mixed vegetable are great for pot pies or vegetable soups. And of course, we love the baby lima beans, and corn can be used in just about any recipe. So the first step is to go ahead and cut on the dehydrator and let it be preheating. Again, that was 125, and I'm going to set it at 12 hours, but I'll check it after 8 hours to see if it needs additional time. Each one of the trays has a very nice plastic white sheet that sits on top, and you can wash these up very easily, and they work great for letting the air flow all through the vegetables. Now this is so easy because you don't have to do anything to the vegetables. You don't have to blanch them, you don't have to thaw them. All you have to do is cut up in the package and pour them on the tray. This is my favorite way of saving food versus pressure canning or freezing. I like to do this because it takes up a small amount of space. 2 of these 1 pound 8 ounce bags will fit very easily in a 1 quart jar. So that's why I like this method, and I use this a lot. And the dehydrated food stores well for a long time. So here I am just spreading out the frozen vegetables. These are the green baby lima beans. And I have 2 bags, and I'm going to put 1 bag per tray. And then I just go ahead and slide that into the dehydrator and start on the next bag. That's it. That is so easy. Again, now I've got the corn, and corn dehydrates so nicely, and it rehydrates well too. All you have to do is add some warm water, and this stuff rehydrates nicely. So here I am just pouring on the corn. I'm going to spread it out evenly, make sure there's no clumps, and then you just pop it in the dehydrator. Now later on in the video, I'm going to share with you how I took some of this same corn and I've put it in the crock pot to have a big pot of soup for dinner tonight. So right on top of the baby lima beans, I put in the corn. Again, this is a 9-tray, so the very top I did not use. I kind of like to leave the very top open so the air can go through the dehydrator a little better. I decided to wait and do the crowder peas on the next run, so now I'm going to just open up the peas and carrots and go ahead and spread those out. Now those were still frozen, so I'll show you a little trick to make these spread out easily, because sometimes you'll get a block of still frozen vegetables, but you don't want to put it in there with that block. Everything needs to be broken apart and spread out. So if you get a big block that's frozen, you just take this whole tray over to your sink and just run some water over it. And that's the beauty of these trays, is because the water runs right through them. So you just take some warm water, run over it, and then it quickly breaks apart, and then you can spread it out evenly. Just keep doing this until all of the chunks are broken up, and then you just spread it out on your tray. See how easy that is? And peas or carrots are great for any kind of pot pie, a beef pot pie, turkey, chicken pot pie. When I make shepherd's pie, I'll use some of this to make my shepherd's pie. They're really good and they're easy, and if you have them in your pantry, it makes cooking a meal really, really easy. Now here it is, the dehydrator is completely loaded with all of the vegetables. They're all still frozen, and I'm just going to push them shut and dehydrate for 12 hours. Now I do go about every 3 hours and rotate one turn so that the vegetables are getting dehydrated evenly all the way around. Your fan is at the back of the food dehydrator, so I like to rotate the vegetables. So see, I'm turning it one turn in the dehydrator, and you can see the front area, the dehydration is really working. So you just got to keep moving that around about every 3 to 4 hours. Butter beans are starting to dehydrate nicely. Then this ran all night long. I went on to bed. This has a timer on it, so after 12 hours it stopped. And you can see it has really shrunk down in size. Now I wear gloves to make sure that none of my oils in my skin or moisture get on the vegetables, because you want them as dry as possible. And that is one bag that I've just poured into a quart jar. And then I'll take the other bag and pour in, and it completely fills a 1 quart jar. So that is 3 pounds of vegetables. So you wouldn't cook this whole jar at one time. You just take out a small amount that you would need for your recipe. And that's the beauty of dehydrating, because it saves up so much space in your pantry. I've got an oxygen absorber that I put in the jar to remove any oxygen, and then I'm going to put in a lid and a ring. Now all of these sealed. That oxygen absorber sucked out all of the air, and then my jar sealed on its own. And then you just kind of store these in a cool, dry, dark area. I've got these in my food pantry. And now here are the baby lima beans. And 2 bags will overfill this jar. So I saved some, and I'm going to put those in a crock pot for soup tonight. Again, I'm just going to put in an oxygen absorber, and you can order these online, but they do help get out any moisture, oxygen that may be in that jar. My jars are nice and dry. The lids are dry. Now here's the corn, and it is really nice and dry, and it's so pretty in the jar. Bright yellow. And it looks so nice in a jar sitting on your shelf. Again, I just carefully pour in. That's 1 bag. And then a second bag, but I'll have a little bit extra that I'll put in my crock pot for soup. This is such a good way to dehydrate your fresh vegetables. If you cannot grow a garden, this is perfect for you. Or if your garden fails, this works great. And you can get these Pick Sweet vegetables in the frozen section of your grocery store. And here are all my jars filled with the vegetables. And this is just the beginning. I bought quite a bit, so I'll be running that dehydrator most of the day today. Now on to show you how you can use these dried ingredients. I, in the past, have dehydrated fresh onions. So I've got a jar of dehydrated onions. I've got some carrots that I dehydrated last year. And this is the corn and butter beans I had left over. I chopped up some stew beef that I had left over from another meal, and 3 potatoes. So to my crock pot, I'm going to add all this, let it simmer all day on high, and I'm going to have a really good soup for dinner tonight. So I'm adding in 3 packets of beef bouillon. I am totally out of my beef broth, so that's going to be a project coming up to make some more beef broth. But I've added 3 packets of bouillon to 4 cups of water. And you do need to add extra water when you're rehydrating your vegetables because they will suck up the water. So into the crock pot goes the stewed beef and the potatoes, or whatever you have. You can make soup any way you want. This is just stuff that I already had in my refrigerator, and I thought I'm going to make some soup. I'm going to add in the 4 cups of broth, and then I'm going to add in an additional 3 cups of water. I've got 1 jar of my canned stewed tomatoes, so I'm going to add that in. I always like to give mine a smell, and they were perfectly fine, but that's just a habit of mine to make sure they're good and safe. Then I'm going to pour in probably about maybe a half a cup, 3/4 of a cup of the dehydrated carrots. And they're small now, but they will rehydrate to their regular size. So I'm going to pour those on top of the soup mixture. And I'll add another fresh oxygen absorber to that jar. Then in goes the corn and the butter beans that we just dehydrated. And I'm going to toss in some of these dehydrated onions. Now you don't do a whole lot because remember this is dehydrating reduces it in size, but when it rehydrates, it goes back to its regular size. So you don't need quite as much as you think you would. So I've added some onion in there. I'm going to put in some of that pink Himalayan salt. You can season it any way you like, however you like your soup. And you could toss in, I've got a little pepper I'm putting in, and I dehydrated some kale earlier, and I can go and add this about the last hour, and it will add some good flavor to the soup. So this is what we've got, a nice crock pot full. It's cold outside, the temperature drops, supposed to get down to 48 tonight. Here in the southeast, that's unheard of in May, but I'm going to give this a good stir, and then we're going to let it sit and cook for the next 6 hours. See how easy that is? Doesn't take up space in your freezer. You don't have to pressure can it. Dehydration is a great way to stock your pantry. And there are all kinds of resources. If you go online, just type in dehydrate food, and there's all kinds of really good channels that go into more detail about how to dehydrate your food. So I'm going to add in 3 more cups of water, and that should help with rehydrating all of these vegetables. And I'll taste it later on to see if I need to add any more seasoning. So there you have it. Quick and easy way to dehydrate frozen vegetables and then make you a nice pot of soup. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a very blessed day. Be safe. And thank you so much for subscribing.